Adrian. Hello. I'm glad that you're here with me. Somebody that's a legitimate professional in this streaming industry. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Absolutely looking forward to talk about, I will just say everything, because I think the space industry lately has made it very easy for space reporters to talk about a lot.
There's sort of one story, and at the same time there's about a million, because that story impacts everything ever, and it all somehow is interrelated. That's where we've ended up. Yeah, on that note, this might be one of them shows that I'm like, hey, listen, this is both a Miko and an Off-Nominal at the same time, because I keep little lists of like, here's what I should talk about. Well, Jake and I typically have this little calendar of like, here's what's coming up on Off-Nominal. I keep little lists for Miko. It's the same topics right now. I'm like, I need somebody from the European continent to come on and help me, because there's a lot of European policy wrangling that is, it's just, every 3 years are ministerials, right? So it's, in the run-up, the 6 months leading up to it, there's just like a lot of people talking and positioning, and there's a lot going on. And then they're also angry about American politics at the same time, and then mad at SpaceX. And you are kind of a one of one who's like into the SpaceX things, obsessed with Starbase. European politics is there, so you've got it all going on, and I'm glad that you're here to help me sort through it.
Absolutely. Feels like I'm very much in the middle of a lot lately. So I agree with that assessment.
Yeah. First off, it's late where you are, so I hope brought something fun to drink. But
I thought a long time what I should drink, and then I remember we have a beer in Germany that is literally called Astra Rakete, which means Astra Rocket. So I just found that funny. That's all the story behind the fact that it's called Astra Rocket. So
wow.
Yeah, that's it.
Did they know? Did you inform them like what the whole situation is? I feel like you should reach out.
I feel like we should reach out, but honestly, I don't have any more backstory to this besides the fact that I think that's an incredibly funny coincidence, and it's apparently a beer infused with citrus and vodka. So, yay.
Wow. Infused with vodka. Yeah. That's intense.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That does definitely, that would have you leave your house power sliding, for sure. That would definitely fit and be on brand for that. So.
I hope nothing power slides today here. Like, that's my personal hope. I hope this house stays where it is in horizontal and vertical axis.
I'm kidding. Oh, I'm drinking a Victory Prima Pils, by the way. It is a German style Pilsner, so that was nice. Relevant, but it's delicious. This is a good one.
Nice. Cheers.
Cheers, man. I don't know which end you want to start here. I was going to say there's been some good off nominees in the last week, but I don't know that any of them have the spirit of whimsy needed to make it. I mean, Starship just blowing up, epic explosion, certainly.
Yeah.
No spirit of whimsy. We're beyond the era of whimsy for Starship, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's like, I feel like it's almost, I'm not sure, Off-Nominal, I feel like Off-Nominees always have like a bit of a stupid character next to that.
Yes.
And I feel like that test was just like, I mean, in the essence, it was just the fail test. It lacks the funny, stupid part of it.
No whimsy at all. Just pretty depressing.
Yeah.
Reminiscent of, I think we were talking about this on the pre-show last week, right? Reminiscent of like SN4 or something, where they were testing and they had that, was it a methane leak or something that then the entire field ignited, and there was this kind of 2-stage explosion happening. Incredibly energetic. And I don't think so. Like, do we know why there was that second, even more explosive aspect to the explosion? I got to pull up the video while we're talking about this.
For this test for Ship 36.
Yeah, because there was the initial explosion, and then there was one that everything really started flying. I don't know if that was a tank on the ground that also got hit at the same time, and that was the secondary explosion. But the second part was crazy.
I think it's the LOX tank. I want to say it's because I think you see in the clip how there's like a part of the tank that just falls down. I think it's the LOX tank just hitting the ground, and probably also part of the methane tank. And it's just like emitting a lot of LOX, because this test is relatively low on methane. And while this explosion looked spectacular, it's not really like that huge of a force. It's more like a giant fireball that happened. We can see that now in the aftermath. We flew over it. I know others also did. And the damage is relatively calm versus what it initially looked like. Of course, the test stand is toast, and a lot of piping and everything around it is toast. But besides that, I mean, honestly, there's material like 400, 500 meters away from the test that is perfectly fine. So in terms of energy, kind of lower than SN4, I think.
All right, there's always a silver lining there. It's interesting now. I'm trying to pull up the your flyover. There's some videos you're tweeting out. What, yesterday or something?
Yeah, there's I feel like everybody as soon as this happened got into the air, and decided to just I mean, you can see it. I mean, look at it. It's not this like
it's not apocalyptic by any means.
No, it's just a problem that once again they have to refigure out all the details, right? And we know, like, putting a stand there, that's one thing, but all the cables, all the piping, everything, that's gonna take time.
Yeah, so now that we've kind of... we talked about this on the show last week with Eric Berger and Casey Dreyer, but that was so close to the immediate aftermath that I don't think there was really anything that we could glean other than, like, this is bad and a horrible year and vibes are bad. Now we're a couple days out. We got a couple of tweets from Elon on it or whatever, and maybe we've seen some hardware moving around. Do you have a good sense for what the game plan is from here? Like, obviously, setback, but is there... They have a lot of sites down in Texas. Is there, what is your expected, like, traffic pattern here for what they're going to do?
I don't think SpaceX has a traffic plan yet. I feel like they're still in cleanup. I feel like that's going to be quite some time again. They have to do, like, assessment of the place first and understand what they have to repair. From what we can tell, they're still in the cleanup process. I would still think this is a very bad year overall, and I think SpaceX people probably would agree with me. I honestly feel like there's a lot of decisions that SpaceX right now is to make. They have, of course, 2 more flights on their Block 2 chain of vehicles. They have then Block 3 coming up, which will result in a lot of changes in their hardware anyway. They will have to... They already started adjusting masses before this test, and now they have to repair it and adjust it.
They adjusted it during this test as well.
Yeah. Yeah, they rapidly adjusted test site, which is funny because it happened now 2 times that they rapidly adjusted something they also wanted to adjust in the future.
Totally.
But I think there's a very high chance that they will fly the remaining Block 2 vehicles, because the issues they had are not necessarily Block 2 related. One of the 3 failures is Block 2. That was the resonance issue. But the other one was a Raptor failure. That's not Block 2. That's Raptor. The other one, this test, was a failed COPV. That's also not... That's not Block 2. That could also have happened
as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So are you really gaining something by skipping? You're just carrying these issues that apparently you have right now all the way to the next generation. So I feel like there's a good chance they will fly the remaining 2 vehicles. How they will fly it and how they will test it, that's the interesting part, because Massey's toast.
And obviously we'll get a new nomenclature out of this. It'll be a Block 2.5, which will be really nice for the block trackers out there. There's always a new one, just when you think it stabilizes.
Yeah. or when they retroactively declare something as Block 2 that wasn't Block 2 before, and they're like, no, we're totally flying Block 2 boosters. And we're like, are you? Because recently you didn't call this Block 2.
You're like, I have a spreadsheet that goes all the way back to the original countdowns, and that is not true in spirit of what we're watching here.
Yeah, the new, I think at some point we declared the new Block 3 is the old Block 2 in boosters. They like re-signed that for some reason. I mean, whatever. It's their internal name assignment, and let's be real, Falcon 9 is not any better in terms of names.
No. That's much worse because there's more of them. So,
yep.
Do you think that something that's been in my head about this particular failure, I don't know if it's just the visuals of it, but I also think it's something about where in the life cycle of the vehicle it is. This feels like the pad explosion that happened with Dragon, where you kind of felt like we were over the hump. The delays were there. We finally are flying this thing. They're doing some testing. They got a good schedule forward. And then we get that leaked video after the explosion, and it's a tough thing to look at, right? And I feel the same about Starship, that you're watching Starship explode, right? When it's a test tank, you're like, oh, well, that's clearly development hardware. You're watching numbered, a very high numbered Starship explode. And that's a bad visual that is going to be out there forever, and they have to deal with that visual existing. And
Yep.
I in the Dragon case, that definitely ratcheted up the intensity, right? They were that far down that program, and it felt like, okay, this got serious. This got really serious now that this happened. If it weren't for the recent troubles at Starship, I would feel exactly the same. But that's the part that tempers it a little for me. Like, maybe this is different because it's a rough year, and like, hopefully we keep waiting for rock bottom. Is this it? I hope, because it was for Dragon, and I hope that's the same for Starship here.
In a weird way, it fits just into this year so perfectly that I think people are just accepting it happening. But yes, I agree. I didn't expect this to happen. Like, I didn't expect at this point in the program for an upper stage to explode. Of course, we have way more mature rockets that failed during weird testing in the past. That's not something that is super unusual. But I felt like SpaceX was kind of on the path of like they really needed a win with Starship. They had like a decently okay-ish Flight 9, where at least, hey, you got to Seco. It was okay. You could sell that. And I feel like this vehicle was really like the one to turn this bad year into a good year. And well, now you're at least on a like 2, 3, 4 month stand down. And I mean, at 3 months to this year, we are already somewhere in September, maybe October for return to flight. That's not gonna really help you to turn this year around. And yeah, I was surprised. I didn't watch it live. I will fully admit it was 5 a.m. my time, and I woke up aftermath.
One of us.
Yeah, it was like I actually didn't watch it live. I woke up and I got the AI summary of Discord, and it was, we have like a channel where we talk about stuff behind NSF, and like people talking about Ship 36 explosion. I'm like, huh? What?
That's not one you want summarized. That's an Apple Apple Intelligence summarization failure for sure.
Yeah, I was like, oh, static fire into explosion. That's weird, Apple. Nope.
Yeah. Good summary. There's something that can't be true. But I mean, what's your level of concern though, right? If that's the case, like, has something, because I think for a while there was a lot of storylines you could write. Elon's distracted. It's just where they're at in their life cycle. You can write off a couple, but how many do we need stacked up before you start going like something's happening? Because I'll give you an example. The year where like Falcon 9 surpassed ULA in flights was the same year that ULA was starting to turn pads over for Vulcan, and all of a sudden every launch they went through had some scrub. 1, 2, 3 scrubs. There was that one year where all of a sudden everybody noticed ULA scrubs a lot. And I think looking back, we know that was the year that the workforce adjustments started happening in the run-up to Vulcan, and it clearly presented itself. Is this that year for Starship where the people that are working on it are different? We've had a lot of attrition at SpaceX out to companies that are either founded by SpaceXers or they just naturally progress because they don't want to move to South Texas. Like, I don't know. I was not willing to accept this storyline with a failure or two. 3, 4 in a row, it's like, it's a lot.
I think some things definitely. I think you're either talking about an incredible streak of bad luck, because all of these failures are odd, right? Like, none of this is like just simple. All of these are just weird. It's a good question. I still think there's a lot of talent in SpaceX. I think they are still an incredibly this company right now, next to all of this, runs the Falcon 9 program, which is probably one of the most successful programs in.
Had a bad year last year, though.
That's true.
Bad year last year.
But I feel like this talent is for sure not gone. However, something at Starship is obviously not going as they had planned. At this point, they lost to the recent failures like 8-10 months, just gone. That's
gone. Yeah.
The Mars 2026
and I
window
think
looks
almost
incredibly unlikely.
Almost no roadmap progression, right? You would know the ins and outs more than me, but like the stuff that's been the top of their hit list has been the top of the hit list every single flight now. I don't know if any of and this stuff's been redesigned, I'm sure, but there hasn't been a progression of where they're at on the roadmap in that time.
Yeah, I mean, their goal before this year, I recently actually did this with some colleagues. I talked about what was our expectation about Starship this year, and it was like, well, maybe 8 to 10 flights. Well, not happening. Maybe a ship catch attempt. Well, not happening. What they got was booster reuse. Props to that. Like they reflew on a booster. That's cool. Orbital refueling. No, well, not going to get that this year. I mean, it's for sure a setback. And even if you go into these timeline discussions, we are talking about Artemis 3 readiness. We are talking about like moon landing readiness or Mars window next year. These things are definitely under question. Like, will you be able to test orbital refueling until the Mars window next year and get that perfected? I'm not sure. I have my doubts.
Somebody in the chat is telling us that we're two dudes hating on SpaceX, which hasn't gone well in the past. No. Don't misunderstand us. Like, we are not shifting the goalposts for SpaceX. SpaceX and their outsized efforts shifted their own goalposts to the point where in Adrian's stack of things that happened, yeah, they reflew the booster. That's cool. And that vibe is they'd caught the largest booster that's ever been, and then they reflew it, and we're like, yeah, that was the easy part because of what you have done previously. You're writing big checks, you got to cash big checks. And you know, the fact that they are the outliers levels up the expectations for what they're capable of, and they don't get to play the same game as everyone else because they are that good. This is the role that NASA was in from the space age through the 90s, right? Like, there was a reason that it's not rocket science was the phrase, because that was like they were just killing it and they were doing so good and they were infallible in many ways except for a handful of missions. And even with like JPL at Mars, right? Every time they go to Mars, they're expected to stick that landing. Everyone else on Earth is like, Mars is really hard, 7 minutes of terror, we might not make it. JPL shifted the goalposts on Mars. Now they're having their own problems. SpaceX shifted their own goalposts because they did so well, and now they are having those problems. And I think I attribute a lot of it to the fact that Starship is such a grand scale, that everything is so hard and there are so many things to get right, that to have them all come together is like nearly miraculous. And so, is that, I don't know how healthy that is long term. And unfortunately, I don't see like how to simplify the structure when you're trying to do the holy grail of what spaceflight has always said is, where we're all heading. And it is this complex. That's a logjam I can't find my way out of.
Everything below exceptional would be not good enough for this program, because Starship, I think we both agree, Starship is probably one of the hardest programs to ever be attempted in launch vehicle history. It's nobody besides SpaceX right now would even have the ability to attempt it, because there's so many problems on the way that you would just bankrupt a company on the path. In the context of this, though, this year's not exceptional. And if you say they need to be exceptional to get this program running, 2025 is not exceptional. I doubt any SpaceXer will go on any show and tell us, 2025, great year for Starship.
Morale really high. Like, we're doing great.
Yeah, like everybody cheering. It's like, no.
Yeah, and this isn't me being doom and gloom, right? I still am one of those people that I'm a when Starship, not an if Starship, and there's people that used to be when that are now if, and I get that. I totally get that this shifts your perspective on that. And at the same time, I'm thinking of like the hero's journey aspect of this, right? Like every great story in this, in aerospace or tech or these fields that we're interested in, have those moments. There's a chapter in the book, right? Eric Berger's chapter in this book is going to be epic, because there's going to be probably 2 or 3 chapters of 2025. There's always that moment in these programs of like epic downfall, and you hope, and what our job is to figure out, like, is this a group that's capable of pulling the nose up, right? Same way that NASA science right now is dealing with budgetary issues and program management struggles and execution issues and vision issues. Will they be able to pull the nose up is the thing that you try to suss out. It's not unexpected that there are down periods in development, especially ones as lofty as this. So that part's not the surprise. It's just like, damn, they haven't pulled the nose up yet. Are they in a total stall, or are they, trying to pick up some speed to get some lift under the wings? That's the question. And here's the thing that I'm curious on, as you look at the roadmap, right? There's a temptation probably to say, all right, well, we're way behind on. It's kind of like a gambler's mentality, right? Like, I gotta win my losses back, so I'm gonna double down and bet bigger and bigger and bigger and lose more and more money. Are they going to continue to add stuff to the next flight to try to get ahead of the roadmap? Or, I mean, so far they've been pretty committed to like, let's refly maybe one or two things updated based on what we know, but we're still aiming for that same thing. Are they going to stick with that? Or do you think that, I guess that's what you're getting at with like the V3 jump, that they might say, screw it, we're launching 2 at a time, and we're going to try to do orbital refilling on the next flight because now we've got all this time to work on rendezvous and proximity operations and whatever else might be there?
I really think they want to get the necessary steps ready to launch Starlinks on this. Like, that seems to be their high-level goal right now. They want to get payload deployment going. They want to get Raptor Relight in space going. Because once you achieve that point, well, that's where you start to get return on investment. That's really when you're getting something out of this program. I feel like that's what they are like high-level chasing right now. Yes, there have been some other tests, especially with the TPS on recent flights that, well, they didn't really test because they never get to that point. But they were more like sidelined. Right now, I feel like it's getting its Starlink readiness and then just use Starlink mission as test missions. Because once you get to this stage where you launch payloads on this and you basically test after payload deployment, well, you're not really losing that much anymore. Especially if you also got booster catching down, and props to them. I mean, in the grand context, they're still catching the largest rocket booster ever made, casually, on a regular basis now. If they get that going and they can reuse that, that's probably already a huge amount of the cost. And getting to this economic viable scenario for Starship right now feels to me like that's their stretch goal. That's the first, get to the first finish line of the 15 finish lines they have ahead of them. But like, get this first finish line.
That's interesting context too, because every other company on Earth, I feel comfortable making that statement, every other company on Earth would have stripped off the TPS out of all these ships and said, we're just going to be a regular launch vehicle with a reusable booster, and we'll come back around to the reusability thing in a year or two when we get, and they never will, right? Yep. They wouldn't circle back and do it. They would just launch Starship as this thing. But the fact that they haven't yet, I think is notable. The minute that they put, all right, we're just going to do a second stage on top of this thing with a huge payload bay and a giant regular fairing, and it just looks like a huge Falcon 9. I think that's the minute I would worry of like, okay, but they lost the plot on why they're doing this. So I would make that my canary in the coal mine with your context of like, no, Starlink is and that's a clear gating element because it is, future Starlinks that are going to make that business more viable do require the size of Starship, which could be a tough, and that's why, that they developed different versions of the Starlink buses to allow for this schedule, confliction. It's fun times, man. You're busy.
Absolutely. I mean, I just started writing our update for this weekend because we are doing like a weekly like update on what's happening. And honestly, it's kind of crazy that you would think we talk mostly about Massey's repairs, but what I mostly talk about is about the fact that they are building a huge gigabay now and are doing a foundation for one of the biggest rocket factory building of all times after the VAB.
Maybe they're about to shift to saying, hey, we're not getting the ship back, we're just got to make a bunch of them.
Yeah, it's like so much is this program is like so many this program is bigger than most other rocket companies combined at this point, basically, in terms of workforce, and the amount of work they can get done in a single week is insane. That's why I'm always hesitant to say, for example, is it 2 to 3 months to test for the next flight? Because this is still SpaceX we are talking about. They could do a very very ambitious thing. Put this thing on like a test stand, hook some umbilicals up to it, static fired on concrete, whatever. Yeah. We did it before.
They've done worse.
And this is not the worst thing. This is not even making the top 10 of the worst things they have done with Starship.
We'll go back to the tents. No problem. We're moving outside. That was when you took the ships inside, that's when all the problems started. Back to the tents, boys,
Yeah, but just bring out, like, get to Walmart. We are getting back to the good old floating things for the Raptors.
Get the tiny homes out of there, just camping only. Yeah.
Yep. I feel like there's a good chance there. Or what tells you they will even static fire before the next flight? Like, very, very crazy thought here, but do you think there's an engineer at SpaceX right now that is like, before we don't fly them, why not fly them just without the static fire?
Just launch it. That's
Yeah.
true. Launch it and catch it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Put a little
I mean,
test cone on there and let's see what happens. I mean, they think
I-
one day they want to ship it to other launch sites like that, right?
yeah, I mean, never doubt
Try it now.
never doubt SpaceX's ability to do something you really didn't expect as a news reporter. It's
One other thing that you maybe didn't or did expect was this observation that happened mere minutes before we went on air. This is not a replay from several years ago when they had an observation. This is the BOLE, the BOL. What's it? The booster something life extension. What is the O?
Yeah, it's something I always
Booster
forget the O.
observation life extension.
Apparently, O is for observation.
I didn't watch this.
Yeah.
This is my first viewing of this. So can you give me a rundown of what happened here?
Yeah, it's happened a bit earlier, I think, but I will look at it.
Oh, I've already missed it.
Yeah, the nozzle liberates at some point.
Immediately?
Let me.
I feel like
Nah,
that was
it's-
pretty
it's
early
like-
on.
Give me a second. I'm getting you the timestamp. It's near the end of the test. Sorry.
I figured it didn't go on too long. Look at these pans that it's doing though. Here we go. Is that a side angle? That would be an epic view of this thing if that's where it's happening.
It's like
is this
very
test?
close
How long
to the
should I be
end.
Scrolling. It's
Well,
it's great.
that's nozzle is still there. Let's track it. Nozzle's still there.
How about that?
Where
Can't
is
see.
it?
They must have. This might
It
have
was
already
all-
happened because they zoomed out. So
Oh, that could be. Where is
110 is. I'm getting 110. Let's go to. Now I'm doing math. That's like just under 2 minutes. Let's see. Just under 2
Okay.
minutes. That's past 2 minutes. You guys do very long live streams. Here we go. Is that really?
yes.
You get this side angle? This is crazy.
Okay, there apparently it's only.
I like that whoever I called out in the chat for telling us that we're bitching about SpaceX too much is getting attacked in the chat. Everybody would be nice. I don't know what's going on down there, but there we go. There it was, Adrian. Holy crap.
There we go.
Oh, man. Yeah. Oh, they
Yeah.
cut away immediately. They were on a. You can see the little minor sub explosion there. So you're. All right. What's up with the
Yeah.
nozzles here? This is like a Vulcan-like situation.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Isn't
just
this what the
I feel like
original
nothing-
observation was with the Omega booster?
Yeah, I feel like lately Northrop Grumman just really dislikes nozzles. I mean, it's Vulcan. It's weird. You would expect at this point that they really have nozzle figured out. I feel like it's kind of their thing for nozzle SRBs. I mean, I didn't watch this test live. I was also just like
Shocker.
getting to.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I will add this to the list of things I didn't expect to explode in the last 2 weeks.
Didn't know it was getting tested. I haven't been keeping up on the test schedule here for because these are the boosters for like Artemis 8. How far out are these boosters? This is 9?
9. This is
9, right?
Artemis 9. This is hardware that totally will fly it for sure. I mean, let's be real. Do you think Artemis 9 will fly?
I would take a bet that something named Artemis 9 flies, but not this Artemis 9.
Yeah.
It's good branding. I think the biggest problem with the rethinks of NASA, human spaceflight policy over the last years is that we've just bailed on a bunch of really good names, right? Like the Ares rockets were great names. Constellation,
Ares,
good name. We've shed a lot of good branding in our past.
Name. Yeah. It's like you threw away the great name in a project, and now you have to go to like the B plan.
That's how
it's
you
the
end up with
worst.
Space Launch System, because they didn't want to name
Yeah,
it.
like they're like, yeah, let's.
That might have been
like,
the point.
Be careful.
This might have been the moment if they would have just flipped the switch that said SLS is named Ares 5. Like, just we're doing that name. We had that branding done, but they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
been 4,
half of
right?
the people would not notice the difference between Ares 4 and 5 and SLS. I think it's fine. Maybe this is for all the commercial availabilities of such a booster, because I bet there's so many commercial companies that will be like, yeah, we need this SRB.
We need this giant SRB with.
Like, I mean, we could bring back Ares 1, like Ares 1
That's always a threat. I think
it's
that's
like
always teetering on the edge of coming back. Yeah.
I always wake
Omega.
up. Yeah, always wake up at night, like in sweat, and I'm in fear that Ares 1 comes back. Like that's my biggest fear at night.
That's your biggest fear. You're like, God, what upper stage are they gonna put on it though?
Yeah, like, oh my God, imagine a Centaur.
Yeah. What about it was the J2X? Remember that? That was a cool looking engine.
That's
I was
true.
like,
That's
I was
true.
like flying it in Kerbal, but yeah, it's not a good rocket. I did see, I was there for Ares 1X. Did you know that?
You were?
I was there. I was at that launch. I totally was.
How was it to see something fly that is already canceled?
It was totally bizarre. It was completely surreal, and it looked absolutely ridiculous. And I hate it, but I love that that's in my brain somewhere. And also, remember, it toasted the launch pad. It like kicked out and just blasted. It kind of starbased the it was 39B, I guess it was at the time. They clean slated. What did you say earlier? They rapidly adjusted it.
Yeah, the rapidly adjusted launch site.
Yeah, that's what they did at 39B back in Ares 1X days.
Somebody called this the Ares 1 moment of the Artemis program because it's testing hardware that is already not flying. I love that wording because it's like,
I mean,
it's not that far off. I feel like if you ask 100 space journalists today, will this booster ever fly? I think more than 90 would say no.
This one that we're watching get tested?
No, I mean in
Or
general,
general.
this kind of booster design.
Man. So you don't think 2 and 3 are going, right?
Yeah,
so you're saying all the other ones are going to museums. Is your point?
I mean, this one is for 9.
This one's for 9. That's a lot. There's no way 16 of these or 14 solid rocket boosters go. Yeah.
If they go for like 5 and 6, yes. But these new upgraded boosters are not flying before 9.
Also, I like that you're getting called out for your overestimation of there being 100 space journalists. So there might be. There might be.
It's like one of these. It's one of these social media posts with like name 100 space journalists.
Yeah.
Go.
I bet we could do it. We have way more interesting topics for the back half of the show than that, but I bet we could do it. We'll do it. We'll do it we'll do it later on. We'll make a little list. Can we talk about European policy? I need you to help me sort through what's going on here because there's a lot. There's like
good luck.
Multiple constellations. There's this whole ESA European Commission negotiation back and forth on like which constellations are ESA and which are European Commission, and what about the countries that are not in one but not the other. And a lingering question that I thought was going to get resolved last ministerial was, what do we do about human spaceflight? And that question is even more so now. So you pick of the litter for what are you watching most going into the ministerial?
General budget question. My general question is, what kind of slack are we picking up from NASA's science programs basically imploding? Because the wording of the Director General recently has been a bit of, we will have, as much as I understand it, is there are different agendas for the ministerial depending on how NASA decides about their budget. So I'm wondering.
This thing's coming up in November. They better not hope on having a budget because I don't think we're gonna have a budget for them when they get to the ministerial.
Yeah, I think the latest update from ESA was they expect the budget to hit about a week before the ministerial, which I'm like, oh, optimistic. That's in time. No way. I really think right now ESA is flying on like at least 3 different plans, maybe 4. And it all depends on not only the US politics, but also the European politics. Because we had recently a lot of shifts in a lot of governments in Europe. Of course, last year was a bit of a disaster for the budget because it actually got less, especially from the big ones. We now have, Germany has the $1 trillion fund package that was, of which 500 billion are for military purposes. So these could also be theoretically space stuff. So there's so much movement right now in terms of money, but nobody's really committing to space, which is the weird thing. It's like, okay, we have all of this money. How much is space again? Like, how much are we doing for space? And nobody's kind of answering the question. It's like just throwing into the room, and after that, it's silence. And And I feel like that's the biggest problem. And I think one of the huge problems we are right now seeing is that ESA is noticing that you cannot build up a reliable space industry in a year, which everybody told them like 10 years ago. And now we basically have one launcher that is not really up to cadence. We didn't properly fund all the smaller companies. They got their like 50 million contracts, and then we wonder why we don't have a Falcon 9 competitor in Europe. And that's the bad situation right now they're in. And of course, for politics, it's so hard to justify money on space right now because you have a million other issues that also deserve money right now. So welcome to the huge confusing budget problems of Europe, where nobody kind of has money for space, but then there is money, but nobody wants to spend it on space. And I also lost track who's increasing and who's decreasing money at this point. It's so in the air.
With the exception of the launcher that hadn't gotten up to cadence, I felt similarly seen as like, oh, we wonder why we don't have a Falcon 9 competitor and we're underfunding all these other options. Because there are some like U.S. politicians that feel the same, that feel like that's in the same spot. $500 billion defense package feels like what would your branding be? The Brandenburg Dome? Like what would your branding be for a crazy missile defense program that's going to clearly be trillions of dollars? Because we got one of those, so it doesn't feel totally off from where we are. We have a rug that we keep pulling out from under the ESA science programs that we're like, we're going to do a Mars project together. No, we're not going to do a Mars project together. You're going to fly a rover. No, we're not doing that. So that part is different.
And also there's this absolute stupid move that ESA made, or like stupid in retro. Like I can now call this stupid. ESA attached themselves to NASA as closely as they could over the last 20 years, and we're like hugging every single program that NASA has, and was like, "Oh, we can totally help you. Here takes optics for this program." And now we are noticing, well, if NASA cancels like everything, we have nothing. Like yes, there are some projects that we run independently, but most of the projects are in cooperation with NASA. So you're suddenly in a situation where, well, what can we run on our own? Gateway is the biggest example. There's so much contribution in Gateway, and there was so much, oh, we're giving you Gateway, for that we're getting free astronauts to the moon. That's totally a cool deal. And now Gateway is canceled, and Artemis becomes more of a signature project without any science meaning. And there will be, like, if we don't contribute Gateway, if nobody takes Gateway, do we get the astronauts to the moon? I don't know. I don't anybody else knows.
You got the service module, which I guess is the barter. Our ISS time is the barter for that, though, right? So you got to get that Argonaut thing up and running.
The Argonaut thing. Yeah, the Argonaut thing that totally was suddenly made up because we really needed another bargaining chip. That was like, oh, we also have Argonaut. We do?
I mean, if you don't have anything at the moment, then yeah. I mean, if you do have all the pressure vessels, right? Like we ain't got a commercial space station industry in this country unless Thales Alenia is going to be shipping us pressure vessels. That's kind of how it feels. So
as long as Turin is in Europe, we have every single pressure vessel in the West.
You could just export tax the shit out of that and then fund ESA off of every pressure vessel that's coming over.
I was there like 6 months ago. That was the craziest facility I think I've ever visited in my life. Thales'
scale or what? What, just exquisiteness? What was crazy?
So first, the main production hall of their pressure vessels is like an empty, almost like where you would assemble dirty trains a bit. Like you wouldn't expect this to be a pressure vessel assembly. Everything in space is like clean and white, and Thales has like this old factory hall, and they're like, yeah, next to the old machines, that's where we assemble the space stations. And you're like, what? But of course, then to be fair, that's like the main modules, and then they polish them. Yeah, but it's like, it's such a crazy production, and you have people there that then are like, yeah, I worked on like every single ISS module ever launched from the West. Okay. And it's just this crazy heritage place, because that same factory hall that I'm making a joke about probably produced half the ISS. So
easily.
Yeah. So absolutely crazy.
And there's don't leak. Those are good.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, there was parts of the Axiom station was just lying around while I was there.
Oh yeah.
I was not allowed.
How'd it seem like it was coming? Any good
I mean,
schedule vibes on that one?
Seemed a bit early, but to the total surprise, it also looked like a sickness. Everything kind of looks like everything is a sickness. I learned basically. It's like
that's what Northrop Grumman thinks. They're like, new program. I bet that looks like a Cygnus. We'll throw our hat in the ring. Yeah.
But how could we modify Cygnus to make this work?
I should use Cygnus as the nozzle. If they did that.
But it's an absolutely crazy facility with incredibly skilled and talented people, and I love to be there. And they're so friendly, they're so open. I was like next to Gateway, I could touch Gateway. They were like, yeah, no problem. It's the structural module. It holds micro asteroids. You should be able to touch it.
Did you? Did you touch
Yeah.
You didn't touch. Oh, you did. Okay, nice. You Mike Pence.
I did. They were like, you can totally touch this. The thing is that this is the structural module. It's basically a giant steel tube. If this doesn't hold when you touch it, well,
then we would like to know. Yeah. So go ahead.
Yeah, it's like. Yeah, but if this collapses if you touch it, that's a good test.
Thank you for that test, yeah. All right, so riddle me this, because this was I don't know if you've heard my crackpot theory on what ESA should do in the human spaceflight department.
I'm looking forward.
I don't know, like, I want you to sort through the budget side of this for me, because I think 2022, wasn't that when there was, like, the op-ed from the ESA astronauts of, like, we should do a human spaceflight thing? That might have been maybe even last year or the year before that they're...
I think it was 2023 or 2024. I think it was more recent.
And they're targeting... So there was some campaign and targeting an upcoming ministerial to be like, this is our moment. We should take it seriously. I don't think a crew vehicle is a good idea. It's not going to go well. It's too expensive. You got launcher problems. I guess you would put it on top of an Ariane 6 or something. Like, I don't even know what you would really do. And the budget's definitely not there for it, and convincing everybody that should be there is not there for it. But y'all got all these space station modules, and we're having a really terrible time funding space stations over here because we have the ISS and we don't care about funding commercial space stations, apparently, above thinking that NASA shouldn't be the anchor customer, but these companies' business case is only working when NASA is the anchor customer. So I was like, all right, let's just do a little simple math here. ESA fund a ISS follow-on space station program, generate themselves some work in the pressure vessel department, give themselves a destination to be the center anchor tenant there. They kind of flip the script and they're like, NASA, you want to have crew time while you're working on all the Artemis stuff, fly on over to the ESA space station. And I think funding-wise, based on what we've been requesting for commercial space station programs over here, it's like in range of an ESA-funded program, much more so than a new human-rated launch vehicle spacecraft program.
I'm looking at the ESA budget right now and how it's currently spended. So right now, wow, we pay $1 billion a year for space transportation for what? Whatever. We have
I really don't know. What is that for?
Yeah, what were we getting for that $1 billion? By the way,
you're buying those Russian diamond encrusted Mercedes. I think is what that counts as space transportation.
So apparently, Earth observation is 1.6 billion. Like the overall, I would say let's say the operational side of the budget is more like 4 billion, which is like very, very small versus what NASA is doing. So let's be real, unless something majorly changes in Europe, we cannot pick up everything here. I also like the idea of not doing a human spaceflight capsule, because I think I agree with you. It would be extremely expensive. It would probably take decades. And we'd fail. I really think ESA right now needs to find very smart partnerships that are not just attachments, but like smart, hey, we do something that you actually need. I agree with you there with the proposal. And I think we really need a reusable rocket. I really think we should spend these 1 billion. If we don't do it right now, please spend it on getting a reusable rocket, because it's... We talk about these constellations and let's build this Starlink on our own. We kind of need a reusable rocket for that. We cannot fly this on Ariane 6. Cadence is one problem, but cost is the other.
Right.
Because apparently we are paying 1 billion for the current capacity.
It's not a good deal. That's funny too, though, the constellation thing, because you have like, especially on the defense side. I don't know what you're going to do with the defense slush fund over there that you're talking about, but there's French high resolution imaging constellations. You've got a lot of commercial options these days, and I know like currently there's geopolitical tensions, right? Just like not only just on the NASA side, obviously greater geopolitics too, but like, I mean, I don't feel dumb for being like, this is kind of a temporary situation, and I think we all know at the end of the day we're going to remain friends, and sometimes you fight with your friends in weird ways and you get mad at each other, but like, we're not going to go make friends with other people too quickly. I think we'll be all right. And the speed at which space policy in Europe seems to move, the situation will be entirely different by the time they get to the next decision point. I mean, I think it's cool that ministerial is every 3 years. Like, if NASA operated on a every 3-year budget, I think that would work better than the current policy, which is a budget and then a continuing resolution for a year and then a budget, and then that's not good. So I do like the every 3 years we're going to think about it kind of thing. I don't know. I mean, even when you're talking about the launcher side of things, right? When you're saying like we need a reusable launcher, are you thinking more on the vein of like, all right, we got to get off the Arian space situation and make sure that we've got viable competitors coming up that are thinking about reusability? I don't know what you're, knowing where the smaller launchers are now and knowing where Arian space is. How would you play that if you were like king for a day? What would you do with the launcher situation?
I
guess also start with your priors on that. Like, what do you actually want out of European launch? What do you find importance of it? How should it be positioned?
I think we need two things. We need a way to launch to space from Europe properly. We need like a developed spaceport that can launch medium to large size rocket. I'm talking like 5 to 10 tons range. So we can launch like stuff like the Galileo satellites or Sentinel. We can launch these kind of things on our own. And I think we need a launcher that can do that with a reusable, at least partial reusable program. So I think the optimal way to approach that would be in a well-better budget would be there to have 2 or 3 companies compete for that. For that, you would we are talking about probably 500 mils per company. We have talked about these numbers before, and that's also the ballpark that got SpaceX going. So we cannot give these, like sometimes we have these studies that are giving out, and they are like, oh, here's 20 million to explore the reusable launcher. And like, yeah.
It's seed funding. It's seed funding is what it is.
Yeah, it's like that gets you something, that gets you a paper of like, the problem is, yes, you get a paper out of that says we would need this money to make this. Well, then that's where the study dies. That's where then nobody pays 500 million for it. And I think having like having a reusable launcher in a 5 to 10 tons range. I'm not delusional. I know we won't develop Starship in Europe. Like I know that, and that's fine for me. But I think we need at least some partial capability.
I mean, we're not developing any other Starships here.
Yeah, that's true.
There's just Starship, right? Like all the other ones, Neutron, New Glenn, even, right? They're not Starships. So, yeah, I wouldn't put that as the gating element. I think the interesting aspect for you is that I think you're somebody who's obviously seen the way that SpaceX has gone, but on a local level, right? I was in college in Orlando in 2009 to 2011. It was the entire talk of like local media was shuttle shutting down. What are all these people going to do? And I remember there was a forum post on NASA Spaceflight way back in the day. I should try to dig this up. I remember this post so distinctly in my brain because it was the thing I knew would happen, and it was just typed out beautifully. I forget who it was. I got to find this. But it was somebody who worked on shuttle till the very last day, was there when they turned out the lights, when they shipped the last one off to the museum, was like crying, didn't know what they would do. And a year or 2 years later, whatever it was, they were back at 39A redoing it for SpaceX. And they were like, I'm sitting in my Jeep. I'm looking at 39A. I'm back. Things are different now. It's going to be a great future. And that was the vibe shift at the time. And it was a leap of faith then that like, no, we see a way that the industry can, like, these people aren't going to disappear. They're not going to just be gone. things will fill this gap, and we have this plan in place. And that was true in many aspects. This far on, when you see how much is built up around Kennedy Space Center, and you drive through that area where there's like the OneWeb factory and the Blue Origin factory, and you've got all the Starship stuff, you got the thing on the way to the Saturn V center that SpaceX is working on, you see all this industry burgeoning around that same workforce. That's the message I would sell to people that think like it can only be Arianespace. It's like, well, these people in Europe that are working on launch vehicles, they want to work on launch vehicles. It doesn't, like that's not going to go away. That urge is not going to go away. So if you did Indiana Jones swap in, right, a competitive program like you're talking about, those people will find roles in those new programs. And
I agree.
Yeah, it is possible to do that.
And I also think the engineering is here. Like I always hear talk of like, oh, we don't have a robust decade-long space industry. Yeah, that's true. But rockets are in essential still machines. And I think in Europe we have experienced engineers. We have capable engineers that could develop these kind of projects. You just need to have the money, so they don't work on any other industry. They choose to go to the space industry, and that's the money and the interest you need to get there. And I'm sure there's a person right now working on cars or working on other, I don't know, weapon systems, and it's like, I would love to work on an orbital launch rocket, but it's just not that easy.
Yeah. And even there's the aspect too, like I said this on a couple shows ago, that growing up, I didn't go into the space industry because there was nothing near me. I didn't want to move to where they were. And it was also super boring in the 90s. It wasn't inspiring to like a 10-year-old kid that was thinking like, what do I want to be, right? And then someone plopped the iPhone in my hand, and I was like, oh shit, that's what I want to do. I want to make iPhone apps. I want to make websites. I want to do software. If I was growing up and I was 10 when SpaceX has landed Falcon 9s on boats, like 100% I'm in on that, right? Same thing, everyone talks about the Apollo moments where they're like, I'm 6 years old watching Neil Armstrong walk on the moon. So when there's a void of that, when that's not happening, there's no excitement to go into it. So you're exactly right. There's great engineers in Europe that are just finding the other interesting things. I got into cycling during the pandemic. The amount of like engineering nerds that are designing aerodynamics on bikes, I'm like, I bet some of these are space nerds. I bet they listen to this show. Like, if you do, by the way, hit me up because I probably need a new bike. But like, it's nerds are nerds, and they're gonna find fun things that interest them to work on. I don't really think any nerds are being like, man, Ariane 6, whoo, like, what a thing I want to.
I would have 100% go to the space industry if I knew about it earlier. I learned about SpaceX and Falcon Heavy landing like 6 months into my training as a banking professional. And I was kind of committed at the point, right? But what are you going to do? Well, I turned it around a bit, and now I'm a spaceflight journalist.
Here you
are.
One of the 100.
Yeah, like one of the 100 spaceflight journalists, apparently. It's... I wish I knew about it earlier. I would have totally studied engineering, because the only reason I didn't was because I didn't want to work in the car industry, because I don't find cars very inspiring. And yeah,
I'm with you.
I bet there's
I'm not
other
a car
people.
Guy. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally not.
There's two things I'm not nerds about. There's like cars and trains, and I'm like, man, I don't really get being into them. Yeah. And then I'm super into rockets, and I was like, oh, I see. Like, I get it. I'm just not one of those. Yeah, I'm not one of those ones.
It's like the nerd skill tree. You have to like this different nerd stuff, and you have to like put points into something. And I also didn't put point into cars and trains.
The train ones, man, they're wild.
It's crazy. There's some channels on YouTube. It's these moments where you notice that when we at NSF stalk like every single rocket on this planet, you notice that is true for almost every industry in the world. Like 100%. There's an NSF of trains.
Yeah, totally.
It's so crazy. I love the internet.
And then you find those and you're like, oh man, wow, like look at these weirdos, and then you're like, oh shit, I'm doing that in all my weird things too.
I'm the weirdo. I am the weirdo.
You totally are. You guys are like, wow, look at this new sheet metal they've got.
Yeah, this has 6 holes instead of 5 before. That means block 2. Oh no.
Yeah, look at this thing they spray painted on it. It's like that was just somebody waiting for their next shipment to come in, and they had a can of paint and they were bored, and they like painted a piece of pie on this thing. Although that one was cool. The pie one was nice. What's your favorite of the Starbase random messages that have been spray painted on something?
I liked Not necessarily spray paint, but I like when they Raptor transport vehicles, where having Mario Kart characters. So basically, you had Mario Kart characters driving around transporting Raptors. That was insanely funny to me. I love the banana on the one of the vehicles. So they just decide to like it's banana time now. I guess. I hate their inconsistency. I hate the inconsistency with vehicle paint though. Not every. Why are only the ships having the vehicle numbers on them, and why only some of them? Give me the numbers on the boosters as well. Make them bigger. I want big numbers on these ships. That makes them way more identifiable.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's not like they're hiding much. I was gonna say that maybe they want to do a little shell game, but like they're not hiding anything. I like how they started promoting that too on the live streams. They're like, if you want to come see, just drive down the road. They've actually started calling that out.
Yeah, it's like,
which is good.
Yeah, like they wouldn't want to promote that. I mean, let's be real. There are people that identify Falcon 9 boosters on the dust pattern that is on them. I really think SpaceX is not able to hide any serial number from us.
Definitely not. Definitely not. Well, I feel good about this, Adrian. I like your vision for European spaceflight. I would put you in charge of that. I would. I'll fly over. I'll be in charge of the space station program if you would like.
I heard you're running for NASA administrator.
I am actively running for NASA administrator. Yeah, I'm not even. I think I started out kidding, and now I'm like, this might be my shot, man. I'm gonna go. I'm serious now. Now I'm 100% serious. I would totally do it. I don't know if you heard my pitch, but this is the best time to be the NASA administrator. The stakes are clear. Your mission is set. If you make it a month, you made it a lot longer than the last guy, and any positive momentum that you provide is welcomed by the industry.
I mean, honestly, at this point, having a NASA administrator in general would be great. I think. Yeah. Like somebody that actually does it. I'll
do it, man. It doesn't look like anyone wants to do it right now. I'll totally do it. So, and also, it'd be great for the show. If I just went and I did a nomination hearing and then I got bounced before I was actually NASA admin, that's also fun. Probably less fun than I think it is.
I feel like Jared kind of wanted to do it, just didn't get to it because, well, handwave politics.
Yeah. Man, that boy's going to be doing interesting things.
I mean, I'm totally off topic, but I think overall this might be a win for spaceflight because I think at NASA, I mean, let's be real with that budget, you cannot do anything anyway. But now we have Jared back in spaceflight. We'll see. Yeah. Let's make a Polaris that is actually like
space
screw program. Artemis. We have Polaris.
Yeah. He got martyred. He didn't. If you're totally right. If he got confirmed, was there for 2 months, and then realized what was in front of him and quit or got fired or whatever, like that's a worse outcome than a week before he's confirmed. Like politically martyred over this is kind of crazy.
Yeah, I hope it channels like an inner rage to make like the best space program ever out of Polaris. Like that's my hope. Like Jared just going full into Polaris and just let's do it.
Well, so at first it was like he had that interview with Berger, which was like maybe politics. Maybe I'll get into politics. I don't know. I'll be my senator or something from New Jersey. But then a more recent interview, I forget who with. You may remember was more floating the idea of like, yeah, maybe I will fund a science mission, which I think if he's going to do anything, fund a private lander on Mars and just go for it. Like fund a space telescope. Just pick one of the flagship missions. If you're going to do, because you figure Polaris in terms of investment is up in those flagship class investments. Maybe not the Curiosity rover, $4 billion or whatever, but a couple $100 million is definitely what Polaris. You think Polaris was into the bees?
I think for sure, right? Especially if you. I mean, Polaris, I bet, is a bit different because I think SpaceX has some significant investment in that they would not disclose as investment.
Right.
But I don't think they make any profit on Polaris. I think Polaris is very much a SpaceX reputation project together with Jared. So there is some cost in there that technically is not cost, but just SpaceX not charging for.
Right. That's true.
But you don't develop like you don't develop a spacesuit for a lot less than $1 billion. Like alone the
and
space
then the flights alone are like right. Even if they're charging for it, the flights alone are $200 million or whatever it is, right? So, yeah, I mean, Someone said Viper in the chat. That's a brilliant idea. Just buy Viper. Say, oh, I'm taking the commercial. Maybe that's why they canceled that Viper proposal thing. They were like, oh, Jared wanted to buy it. I mean, that would be awesome.
At this point, we have to find something that the Chinese won't do first, because I think at this point that might be a lot. Because Mars sample return, I think at this point is like locked in Chinese.
Wow. All right.
Everything. Yeah, we'll see.
You might get it with your new crazy ministerial meeting with the slush funds that you're putting out there. No.
I think I had a short lag. Sorry, I'm back.
Oh, I'm just giving you crap about your ESA budget. It's a cute little budget.
Yeah, like 7 builds. Like that's one SLS.
Listen, man, we got 9 boosters worth that we're cooking up here. So, take it easy, would you?
We have delivered the 5th service module, I think, or we'll deliver the 5th service module very soon. So
I appreciate that
sure.
very much. I look forward to whatever museum that ends up in. Would just be it's going to be a wonderful exhibit. Should
we already plan for every part of Artemis after Artemis 3 to just distribute it?
Go? Yeah. We'll make our list of journalists. We'll figure out where these are all going, and you guys can do a live stream about it sometime. So, can you plug NASA Spaceflight for people that somehow are watching this and have not experienced what's going on there?
I mean, we're a bunch of rocket nerds that love to cover everything in space. Today, we, for example, covered the bowl test. We just love to be at every single launch, and we also have a website that is constantly filled with articles. We do, I think the one format I for sure want to plug is Twist, This Week in Spaceflight. We do that every single Friday. And it's a news show constantly updating through everything that is happening in the week of spaceflight. I think it's one of the best things we produce right now. So if you have time, do that. And besides that, well, check out the channel. You will find something that you like about spaceflight.
It's truth, and often the best videos of things we didn't expect to have to be watching. It's frequently, if something crazy happened, I'm like, twitter.com/NASA Spaceflight. They probably have a clip. I'm going to check it out. So y'all
Thank
are
you so
killing
much.
it, as always.
You do too.
We're doing our thing, and we're just running for head of NASA over here. Is primarily what we're doing now. This is my campaign show, and we'll see how that goes.
Do you wanted to write like a book? Because you kind of need to write also like a manifest book about NASA, right? Like the NASA vision. Yeah,
I could do it, man. I think I've actually got a better shot at the ESA space station program, so I'm gonna do that one first because that one seems more likely to me than me running NASA. But
we should run for both agencies. You run NASA, I run ESA.
Now we're talking.
We'll make it perfect.
Hell yeah, that's the best plan. Vote for us wherever your ballot boxes are. Vote for us. So.
This is now a political show for administration.
We'll keep doing this. If we run both organizations, we'll keep doing this. This will be how we sort it out. So that's our
just
promise
like the first campaign promise. There will be a weekly podcast,
live stream where we sort out and we negotiate geopolitics. Yeah, it's honestly a great idea.
Let's do it.
We might want to launch that anyway.
Would you? I mean, imagine having a podcast of like actual politicians on a weekly basis. It would be so funny.
It would probably not go great places, but all right, y'all. Jake's still away. I think I'll have a show for you next week, potentially tape delayed because I'm going to be away on the 3rd, and then we've got a week off on the 10th, and Jake will be back beyond that. So we're getting into our weird little summer break. So I don't know what's coming up on this, but we'll find out what happens. And Adrian, thank you so much. Everybody else, we'll see you later.
Thanks for having me.
Bye.